What's better, Ray?
Look, I can see 100 points is an amazing achievement. I was at the game when they beat Southampton, Manchester City to get the 100 points. And I stood up and applauded. It was unbelievable to see it.
Did you say it's not as good as mine, though?
Yeah, I probably did. I had a T-shirt on. I put my T-shirt on. But to go unbeaten, as Andy's saying now, I mean, there's always one stage in a season where it just doesn't run for you. The games doesn't go for you. You get a few injuries and key players out, and you lose a game. But you still could obviously go and win the game. We used to say if you lose 3 games in a season, you've still got a chance to win the league. Tom Wenger said the year before that this team will go unbeaten. Now, we didn't really want to hear that as players because it puts more pressure on you.
Yep.
We win the league, fantastic. That's what it's all about. Winning
but he must have known you could handle it, Ray. That's the thing. He must have known you could handle it.
What he knew, Ali, was he knew his best 11 in an unbeaten season. But he knows there's going to be injuries, there's going to be suspensions. You know, things don't go your way sometimes. But he knew the people who are going to step in,
you could rely on them,
and can do exactly the same job. Not probably, I'm not saying exactly the same job, but probably 5% away from a Patrick Vieira or a Robert Perez or whoever's going to come in and try and do the same sort of job. And he knew that, and that's why he said it. And he wouldn't have said it otherwise. And to be fair, it did put a little bit more pressure on. But when we have our meetings at the start of the season, the goal is to win every single trophy, obviously. Yeah. But there's never no talk whatsoever about going unbeaten. But Arsene Wenger said it the year before.
You know what Jason was saying, that you can go unbeaten and still finish in the bottom. But the thing is, for me, still finishing the bottom 4 or whatever, or bottom 3, I don't know. But the thing for me is that you won the league, so that's the big thing. You won the league and you did it unbeaten. So don't take away the fact that you still won the league. That's for me, like, not to lose a football game. I'm with you, Ali. Is better than points accumulated. I just think it is. For me, it just feels better. Maybe it's because I'm an Arsenal fan. I don't know.
I just better say you're an Arsenal fan.
Maybe it's because I'm biased. I've got no idea.
But it is.
Feels better, doesn't it? No red marks.
I genuinely think it does. People obviously have different opinions. I get it. Totally, who thinks a magical figure of 100 points. I get all that stuff, but getting back to it, I just think there's something about a team that can't be beaten. You know what I mean?
It shows you a bit of character, Ali.
100%.
Because we drew 12 games that season, and I can remember at least 4 where we were getting battered. Yeah. And, we might have been 1-0 down, 2-0 down, but they always had that strength and never give up attitude to say we can get back into this. If we score the next goal, we can get back into it. And that was the beauty of the team. Because you imagine on a Friday afternoon, or Friday like mid-morning, we'd be looking at and playing 8v8 with the 16 players who are going to be involved in the next day. And you should see the tackles flying in. You should see people don't want to lose that 8v8. You could see the desire not to lose that 8v8. So that was a winning formula for us. We never knew when we was beaten. And the game that always sticks out in my mind is Portsmouth away at Fratton Park. Not the easiest place to play anyway. And to be fair, they played so well, Portsmouth. And they battered us. It could have been 5-1. We ended up getting a 1-1 draw. Jens Lehmann was like an octopus in goal. He was saving everything. It was unbelievable. And, when you walk off that pitch and think, and it's about 2 games to go, it could be our season where we do go unbeaten. And, and that was a test for... The hardest bit about that, Ali, that season was the last 4 games, because you win the league, it's like you take the foot off the pedal.
100%.
98,
100%.
We went to Liverpool after we won 98 and lost 4-0. But it didn't matter because we've won the league.
Exactly.
So that was the hardest 4 games for Arsenal in that period.
Those last 5 games, last nine games, you drew 5 of them in that league. Were you starting to, as you got closer to the finish line, were you starting to kind of tense up a little bit? Did anything change, like tactics change?
Well, do you know what? The press are the worst people to ramp it up. Because as much as they've got to ramp it up because we're still unbeaten. And it was, can they do it? They started writing articles, 10 games to go. They're still not being beaten. Who's going to be the first team that beats them? And suddenly the other teams you're playing want to be the first team that beats. A little bit like Liverpool when Watford beat them 2 seasons ago. So, the pressure does kick in a little bit more. But you've got to handle pressure. Ali's been in big situations. You've got to handle pressure. That's just top players can handle a bit of pressure. And we always, went out, and that's an old cliche, next game is all that matters. We don't look down the line and say, 4 games time we got them. And
Ray, can I ask you, at what point during the season, because clearly I'm imagining the most important thing is winning the title. Great, get that done. At what point was it, just as you mentioned there?
Yeah, when the press.
Yeah.
It was never mentioned ever in that dressing room area. In training, we're still unbeaten. No, we just didn't even talk about it. It was only the press when they started really writing articles and talking about, this Arsenal team's not been beaten yet. Then we suddenly, we haven't been beaten. We did, you don't realise that what you're trying to achieve at that time. And trust me, we didn't go out to try and go unbeaten. It was purely to go out and win the league. And that was a bonus, a big, big bonus to have at the end of it. And to be fair, the last game of the season, Ali, we was 1-0 down half-time to Leicester.
Is that right?
And everything was going to go wrong on the last day at Highbury as well. And we managed to turn it around again because we had so many good players. I mean, we talk about top strikers. We had Henry and Bergkamp, and then you had Wiltord and Carnu. If you're struggling up front, you could bring them off the bench. And sometimes Arsene Wenger used to put out 4 strikers because he knew that we had to get back into the game, and he weren't scared to do that. And suddenly, you get the next goal, and it was backs against the wall for the other side.
Who would win in a match now, the Invincibles or the Centurions?
I think this Man City side are unbelievable. Do you know what's changed with this Man City side is when they haven't got the ball. I watched last night, Sterling, he'd give a ball away, and Guardiola on the side, he's not happy. But Sterling chased 30 yards, which you don't expect. I'm thinking, would Perez do that? Probably not. But Sterling run, and he won the ball back himself and got back into possession. And that was, for me, that has changed this season. They're not an easy touch now, Man City, we all know they're going great going forward, but they can know how to defend now as a unit, as individuals. They're so much better defensively.